Democratic Governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, joins us now. Governor, you are taking major steps to reopen this week. What are your biggest concerns?
Well, clearly, coronavirus is still very present across the country. And that's why as we start to re-engage, and we're doing an incremental engagement, always informed by some of the best public health experts in our country, we're going to do this incrementally, but our hope is that people know that we still have to live with the coronavirus, that we need to wear our masks. We cannot just drop our guard. We need to learn the lessons from 1918, what happened in our country and what has happened in other countries around the world who've dealt with coronavirus before we did. If we drop all of the social distancing and all of the important hygiene measures we've learned about in these last 3 months, we could, set ourselves up for another spike. And that's something that I think, while there's a lot of debate about a lot of things in this country, we should be unanimous that no one wants to go through another spike of COVID-19 and back to a stay-home order. And that's what we're hoping to avoid.
Then how do you respond to the criticism you received that you yourself didn't practice social distancing while you participated in a peaceful protest and did wear a mask?
So I wore a mask the whole time. I did not greet people the way that I usually do, with hugs or handshakes or high fives. I recognize that that is how COVID-19 spreads. But our right to demonstrate, this First Amendment right, is something that in this moment I thought it was important to show up, to show solidarity with so many who are protesting police brutality in our country. We need to take steps. We need to show unity. And where that is lacking on the national front, it is incumbent on governors to take this seriously and to set the example. So as people protest, I've asked them to keep wearing the mask, try to socially distance, but it's not always going to be, something that you can do, especially in a march like this. But refrain from the handshakes and the high fives and the hugs that we know bring us in close proximity. And when you're speaking, keep that mask on. It is the throwing of your voice, the projecting, that actually creates the place where COVID-19 is spreading. And that's why it's so important that as leaders take on these opportunities to show the leadership that's so lacking across the country and from the national front, that we demonstrate the kind of activity that we're asking everyone else to continue portraying.
How hard is it for you to balance this very important message to respect and encourage people to protest in the name of justice, while at the same time you lead a state where you had many people furious that they had to stay home, that they couldn't run their businesses or go to school or go to work? How do you manage the two?
It's difficult, right? But we are smart people. We understand. The vast majority of people in the state of Michigan, millions, undertook what we knew to be the best practices. They made the sacrifice, and we can't let this sacrifice have been made in vain. And that's precisely why it's so important we continue to keep our guard up and do these things. We are re-engaging the economy. But we also can't forget that just 10 weeks ago, we were number 3 in this country in terms of number of positive COVID-19 cases. We were number 3 in this country with regard to the highest number of deaths. We know that this had a disproportionate impact on communities of color. We can't forget how dire the circumstances were just a few months ago, and what the threat could be if we drop all of these protections that we've learned about and that we're trying to emulate.
Let's talk about the economic impact on Michigan residents that COVID has had. We've seen 1.5 million people in your state lose their jobs since mid-March. We got a strong jobs number on Friday. The president said it was a great day for the U.S. economy, the greatest comeback. What's happening in your state? How do people feel?
Well, you've already debunked the rhetoric that's coming out of the White House this morning. But what I will say is this has been hard. There's no question that we are dealing with this 100-year global pandemic that required that we shut parts of our economy down so that we could stave the incredible exponential growth that we were seeing. It's taking lives. Over 5,600 people in Michigan have died. And yet we know that number would have been much higher if we didn't take these aggressive actions. And so as we are re-engaging, more people are starting to go back to work. We're feeling more optimistic. And I think that that's a good thing. But we also are recognizing that there are so many unique crises that we are confronting all at once right now. And that's why it's so important as we get people back to work, we do it in a way that they can be safe as employees, that the customers, the general public can be safe coming in. And so getting it right, getting the protocols right, getting the cadence in terms of doing this incrementally instead of just flipping a switch and thinking life is back to normal. It's really important that we continue to pay attention to the science, listen to our epidemiologists. We've got some of the finest leaders in the country right here in the state of Michigan, and that's who's informing all of the work that we're doing. And I think that's why we've seen Michigan take such a dramatic change from where we were in terms of exponential growth to flattening that curve. We've got to keep it up, though, and we've got to keep paying attention to the science and paying attention to the facts.
Well, let's talk about who COVID hit in Michigan. More than 40% of COVID deaths in your state have been African Americans, despite African Americans only making up 14% of your population. The virus has clearly put a magnifying glass on a problem that already existed across the country. Do you have a plan to address this?
Yeah, so I think that Michigan was one of the first states to release data around the racial makeup of people that were testing for COVID-19. Michigan, Louisiana, and Illinois. We were one of the first states to do that, and we thought it was important because we were seeing this discrepancy. And it helped us in terms of communicating with the communities of color to ensure that people that were most at risk knew the seriousness of the risk and how to protect themselves. I created a task force on racial disparities that our lieutenant governor is chairing. Garland Goldcrest is our state's first African-American lieutenant governor. He's taking this on and pulling in experts from across the state so that we've got strategies coming out of this moment to improve equity in terms of outcomes for people's health. This is something that we've been focused on as an administration, but dealing with COVID-19, this is a mirror that's been held up to the United States, and we have a lot of work to do. People tend to look at all of the demonstrations that are happening across this country and look at COVID-19 as though they are totally unrelated events, and they are not. There is a very real lesson here, and that is we need equitable opportunity and protection for everyone in this country, whether it's COVID-19 or police brutality. These are lessons we are learning now that we have to come out of this with a plan to address the inequities that are feeding into it.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.